Hi everybody, Bob Ticer here, Chief of Police for our great town here, Prescott Valley. Welcome to the next edition of Chief's Chat. Today we're going to focus on a really important element of our organization and our community, and that's a school resource officer program. Today we have both of our school resource officers here today, Officer Mike Myrmel and Officer Isaac Corrales. Welcome guys.
Well, thank you, Chief.
Yeah, it's awesome to have you both here. We thought we'd spend a little bit of time with our community and just let them know a little bit about what the SRO program is, and then a little bit of your background and how you got here. So Mike, you're the senior SRO here. You've been here for quite a while. Tell us a little bit about what this program is about.
So being a school resource officer, it's not your traditional patrol and enforce type of position. You know, you're actually part of almost what's like a small town. We were actually, Officer Corrales and I were both talking about it earlier today. It's like having your own little small town over there. You have your own community, you're in and amongst the community, and you're part of it. So it's all about learning them, being a part of them, being approachable, being someone they enjoy having around. And at the same time, you also hold them accountable. You're not just there to do enforcement or anything like that. You're part of their community and their resources, but you're also not afraid to hold them accountable and make sure that they're answering for their actions if they're misbehaving or anything along those lines that need law enforcement intervention.
Well, that's awesome. You've been an SRO for how long now?
This is my fourth school year.
Fourth school year, so you've pretty much seen a whole high school class come and go.
I have.
Right.
It's been awesome. I measure my success in high fives and hugs at the end of graduation.
So more of your day is about that interaction rather than making arrests.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I like to go out, have fun, be goofy with them, take pictures with them, do silly social media dances with them, fun stuff like that. See what they're into in their off time, how they're doing grade-wise, what they're interested in doing when they graduate. Talk to them about that stuff, mentor them, counsel them, how they could do that. The ones that want to be cops always come and see us. And so we want to talk to them about those kind of things and just see them succeed in the world.
Well, that's really awesome. Thank you for that. Isaac, you're new to the SRO program. Welcome.
Thanks.
Real happy to have you in there. What kind of duties do you have? You're not at the high school, right? Mike's at the high school.
Right.
You've got something else going on, right?
Yeah, so I have the opportunity to hang out with the middle schoolers. That goes from Glassford Hill Middle School to Liberty Traditional School and also Bradshaw Mountain Middle School. So I get to hang out with them. And it's been pretty fun. 3 weeks so far.
3 weeks into it, and you're still at it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So how'd you find yourself going from a patrol officer to a school resource officer? How'd that happen?
Yeah. So I just kind of would talk to Mike about it. I remember my SRO when I was in high school, and I got to work with him a little bit before he retired from our department, and he was just a great guy, and he was a good influence on me, and also I love hanging out with the kids and having fun, and so yeah, I got to talking with Mike, and it seemed like it was a good program and something that helped me along my life, and I wanted to do the same thing. Plus, I went to the schools growing up here in Humboldt Unified School District. So.
Right, that's awesome. Well, that's great. And for the community to know, Officer Myrmel was our only SRO until recently. The Humboldt Unified School District and our town and the police department began meeting over the summer to add an extra SRO position to the school district, and we were able to make that happen with support from the HUSD school board, and also our town council voted unanimously to bring next SRO in, so we'd have two instead of just one, because Officer Myrmel is spread very thin throughout the population here. So Isaac competed for this job, and so we got you in there now. So really happy for that, and we thank our community for the support on that. Gentlemen, you mentioned there's like a whole town that you support over there, really. So that would be students, teachers, staff, visitors, and such, right? So how do you go about managing all that on a day-to-day basis? How do you go about that?
My way of going about it is I get out and amongst them. I mean, I get to know them, I get to talk to them, find out what the needs are. It helps us get keep our fingers on the pulse of our little community, because you can pick out the individual that, okay, I probably need to go talk to them. They're having a bad day. They need someone to talk to. They might need my assistance or something, just even a shoulder to, cry on, whatever. Something like that. That's the only way we get to know our community, is being out in amongst them. So that's probably the single greatest thing I can do, and being out there communicating with them, talking with them, so you get that feel. But communicating is huge. If you're not approachable, you're not part of that community at that point.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Obviously, we can see our community sees that you're in uniform right now. You're recognizable as police officers. We know there's been some stresses in America with, law enforcement and community in some places. Do you see an SRO as an ability, Isaac, this question is for you, is to break down any barriers between law enforcement and community or kids that maybe are afraid of police officers? How do you go about that?
It does, and Mike taught me just being out there with them and hanging out with them. And yeah, sure enough, there's been the kids that haven't had a good time during the school year, have been in the principal's office, things like that. Now I see them coming into my office and coming and talk to me, and they were the ones that the principals or teachers would say, hey, this student, isn't really law enforcement friendly, or isn't wanting to talk to anybody like that. Well, they're the ones approaching me and coming up to me and talking to me, asking me questions and stuff like that.
So it sounds like a coach, like you're a coach.
Yeah.
So I didn't have SROs when I went to high school, but I had coaches, and they were the ones that kept me in line, and they were very had wisdom, and they were there for me to support me. Sounds a lot like being a coach.
Yeah. Definitely.
Awesome. So there's this mentality. It's called guardian and warrior in policing. When we talk about being a guardian and also a warrior, do you see that fits in as a school resource officer? And what's your thoughts on that? How do you go about that?
I think so, for sure. But I think it's semantics on the term. But if you're going to be that warrior for that community, that guardian for that community, the shepherd for that flock, you got to be in and amongst them. You can't be an outsider, because that's the way you're going to protect them from an outside threat. You can't protect them from being outside the group. You got to be up in and around the group. You got to be amongst them. And I think that's how you take care of them as their guardian.
You're there to protect them.
Absolutely. That's first and foremost in our position.
First and foremost. That's first and foremost. You heard it directly from Officer Myrmel, is to protect. Isaac, can you talk a little bit about, obviously you talk a lot about coaching and mentoring with the kids, but what about protecting the school? Are you prepared for that? How do you go about that?
Yeah, and that's something that I had to question myself in my heart, knowing that if a threat came, I'm going to be the first line of defense. I'm going to be the target, so that try to keep that the visual away from the students and put myself as the target, and obviously try to eliminate the threat. But I also had to bring that up to my family and make sure that they were okay with that, so that they knew that if something like that happened, I was going to be the first line of defense, and I was going to go in there and be the target. So obviously that's something that's really important to protect our kids in our schools.
Well, that's honorable. I mean, you put the badge on, you put the uniform on every day, and you go out to put your lives on the line to protect people that sometimes you don't even know. That's honorable. That's awesome that you do that, and you've taken the oath to do that. As far as training, what type of training do you get to be an SRO? Maybe tell the community a little bit about that. I mean, do we just say you're an SRO, or how does that work?
So there's basic courses, just like anything we do on police work. There's a basic school resource officer training program. It's offered through NASRA, which is the National Association of School Resource Officers. That's who we use for that particular vendor on that. But that's just one of many. There's plenty to go on. Like the department's going through the alert training, the active law enforcement rapid response training. And things along those lines, going to national conferences, state conferences, keeping up on things like case law, trainings for that, trainings for, okay, we have a new module for threat assessments, is the latest, greatest thing, so this will help you, or doing like, say, physical security assessments. Just, there's so many different things that we go to and go see and do and learn from, and then we bring it back to our little communities and we try and improve them as a result.
So it sounds like you're trying to stay our organization with national models through networking and
Absolutely.
And doing it the same way, well thought out procedures and policies and such.
Great way to put it.
Yeah, very good. All right, so Isaac, you see some good training coming ahead for you, or?
Yeah, and I've already received a little bit of training. I've watched some videos that I received from an email. and from one of our training sergeants, and then got a lot of good ideas from there. And then I try to look things up on how to be a better school resource officer, and just kind of come up with some fun ideas on how to make the students, just a lot better and just become good citizens. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about, we have a large community, fairly large community. We have you two, right? Is it just you two protecting our schools, or are there other police officers that help out? How's that work?
Absolutely. I'll let you handle that one.
Yeah. Sometimes we're tied up, and other officers will take over calls. They also go in and check out the schools and just check in with them, see how they're doing during the day. And so even our patrol officers will go around and stop by and say hi. We also have the traffic unit that goes in right before school and gives pamphlets out for safety.
Very good. So you almost sound like you're liaison with the rest of the department. When you need additional help, the police department's there for you, right?
Absolutely. We're basically like the bridge between the PD and the school district to keep the two, communicating properly and staying on the same page and being a good team.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Isaac, you brought up something that triggered something for me here, and that's traffic safety. We know that there was a lot of, can I just say, chaos coming in and out of a school in the mornings. A lot of moms, dads dropping off kids. A lot of cars. Can you talk a little bit about school zones and what you're doing? Maybe a message for the community on how to keep our little ones safe out there.
Yeah, definitely. So just keep an eye out. Make sure you're following the rules, and watch out for the school staff. They're really the ones that are in charge and make sure the kids are safe and on the crosswalks and all that. So just make sure that just ahead of time you know where the line is to drop off and to pick up. I think that's the biggest one.
Okay. So, Mike, anything on traffic safety around the schools?
I would say just to be patient. Parents and family members that are coming and going from the schools and dropping kids off, understand that we know you have places to go and be, and that everyone wants to get there as fast as possible and get out. But at the same time, convenience is fantastic and everyone wants to have convenience and to get in and out fast. But if it compromises safety, then it's no good. And that's where we run into issues when we have traffic problems with parents or family members that are bringing kids to and from campuses that do get in a rush. And we're all human, we understand that. But at the same time, understand who you're around, other people's kids and other people's families. So it's very important to remember that, to be safe. We're all part of the same community and we all want to be safe, and we all want our other children, our children to be safe and everyone else's children to be safe. So that's where I'd say is just try to remember that and be as patient as possible.
Great. Exercise patience. And really one last question I have for you. It comes up often, you hear about police officers in schools. Everybody has an opinion about it, but there's discipline, like school policy, and then there's laws, right? They're definitely separate. How does a SRO work through that? A violation of a school policy or a law? How does that work? Because obviously people are going to come to you for both, probably, I would think, right?
I can jump this one a little bit.
Yes,
I've been
please.
doing it longer. I would say that one of the biggest things for that, Chief, is that we come across is we try and understand that it's a school environment, but there could be laws violated. A lot of things can be handled at the school discipline level with maybe some words of advice or encouragement or discouragement from us based on what someone's doing. However, at some point things do cross certain lines, then we're going to be talking with families and getting their input on how would you like this to play out? What is your end outcome? These are the things that apply, and I may be forced to take an enforcement action on that. What does that look like for you? How do we make you comfortable with that? Simon Sinek is one of the ones I love to quote about that, because he says the why matters. The why definitely matters. We explain the why of what we're doing to both the school and to any involved family members, so that way they understand we are the law enforcement. We're in between sometimes the two parties to do our job, but we explain the why. So both sides can come out and understand, and maybe not necessarily be happy, but be satisfied with they've received top level service, and that they understand that we had to do what we had to do and why we had to do it.
I appreciate that. That's a great explanation. Town of Prescott Valley, our community, I just wanted to say thank you for your support. Thank you for supporting the police department and our SROs. I can tell, talking to these two gentlemen, I think as you listen to them, they are very proud of what they do, and they're here to protect. They're here to serve. They're here to mentor and coach. We talked a little bit about that, about coaching, and many of us had great coaches and look back on them so fondly. We have two coaches right here that can help out in our community, and they can also keep our community safe. And when I say community, I'm talking that school community. So I ask you for your part, and that's drive safe and be safe in those school zones. And you know, if you see something, say something. We're all here together, and we're all here to keep our community safe. So thank you for everything you do, and thank you for your support to allow our school board and town council to support this position here, the new position, to augment our previous SRO position. And yeah, we'll see you next time on Chiefs Chat. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.